So we are live, Yadiksha. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Thank you. Finally.
I know. We've got there in the end. So welcome to, I'm just going to give a little bit of an overview before we get started. I'm Dr. Kate Bartram-Brown, and I'm the head of the Modern Mystery School in the UK and Europe. And Yadiksha is a guide in the Modern Mystery School, but she's also, because she practices metaphysics and is a guide, she also does lots of amazing things in the world. And I really wanted to talk to the experts that I know, the amazing people that I know, to really try and help others through these difficult times, through these transitional times. You know, many are experiencing maybe job losses, or maybe they're changing career, maybe they're changing relationships. There's so many things going on, and I just thought we've got all of this wealth of knowledge, all of these tools, and I just wanted to share your amazing expertise with everyone. So welcome, and thank you for taking the time to do this interview.
Thank you for having me. And I would love to, us guides, we love to serve and to share whatever we can to help others. So it's a privilege to be here, and thank you for your time.
Oh, my pleasure. So, Yadiksha, if you would like to just do a quick overview of your background, because it's really interesting, because you come from quite a logical brain background, career-wise, and could you tell us a little bit about that and how you transitioned, or, how you balance the two, if you would?
Yeah. So coming from South Africa, I had no idea what I wanted to do in my life. And all I knew is I wanted to help people. And I loved babies. So my first choice was to become a gynecologist. And I didn't have the grades for that. So then I took a year off and I went into the hospital and I volunteered in every department you could think of. And eventually I came to the cardiac department and I thought, okay, I'm not going to get bored here because there's more than one test I could do. And I'm going to be doing different things, in one day. And that's amazing. And the fact that I get to work with hearts. So I decided to get into this kind of career. It was really good because I never excelled in school at all. And then when I got into university, I found myself being in the top 3. And I was like, what? How is this happening? And then my career brought me to the UK. I've always dreamed of studying in the UK. So I came here and, got the job. And yeah, it's been 15 years of being in the cardiac department. And as I was working, I realized that there was a lack of balance because we can be very when you're in that medical background, my creativity was totally shut down. I would try to go to the gym, I would try to eat healthily, I would try, but at the end of the day, I was failing very badly in trying to have that balance in my life. So I really started personal development because I realized that that balance needed to come from within. And when I was off balance, I really found the need to work on myself and to get that balance so that I could be better at my job, at my personal life, at every aspect of my life. And that is how I thought about, the personal development. I didn't know what that was at the time. And as I started dipping my feet into it, I realized, oh my gosh, this is amazing for myself. I can only imagine what my patients would feel if they had this in their lives because I was being confronted with them every day and I wished to really help them, not just do a test and never hear from them again. And I do have some of my frequent patients that come, so I see them quite a lot. But I just thought, it would be so great because I have this balance now. I would love to share that too.
I love that. And I what I really like about your story is that it just goes to show that when we have a calling, it can show up in different ways. Obviously, somewhere in there that you wanted to perhaps help people, so you ended up in the hospital helping people. And it's so fascinating to me because I obviously know you quite well, and it's so fascinating that you chose the heart to work on physically. And I know you, and you're all about heart energy. You're all about that. Okay, coming from the heart, serving from the heart. And isn't it interesting how that works?
Definitely. The thing is, I hadn't realized that until I started doing my work in the modern mystery school, that everything was so interconnected. And although I was never great at academics, I realized today that connecting from my heart and living from my heart is one of the greatest things I could have ever acknowledged about myself. And if we all did that, the world would be a so much more peaceful and brightful, a brighter place. And I think, resonating with everyone when we're heart centered, there's no way that you would cause or attract anything that's not heart centered. So even if I'm, for example, working with a patient and they're completely terrified about a test, and the moment that I walk in there and I take them into the room, for some reason they would walk out feeling like, what did you just do? I have no anxiety, that sort of thing, because they would come in with so much of fear. And I always think that the heart is the greatest gift that we have, that if we connected, we could work with so much. Because in every aspect, it doesn't mean because I'm in a medical environment that it works for me. It works on every aspect with everyone. So that consciousness and that opening into one's heart is simply going to attract so much more in our lives.
So there's a couple of things that I wanted to touch on whilst talking with you, Yadiksha, and they were, I wanted to talk about immunity and, the link to the heart and immune system, really from a physical aspect, but then also from the energetic perspective. And I also wanted to talk to you about key workers. Obviously, you're a key worker, and, you have many colleagues and people that are have been working through this, pandemic, and they are probably now feeling, and this is something that I also wanted to check in with you, how are they feeling? How are they coping? What strategies are out there for them? So maybe if we could start with the immunity, the immune system, and how we can keep that strong, any links to the heart, physical and energetic, that would be great.
Yeah. So I think that most of the staff have been confronted with a great amount of stress. And I just did a talk this weekend on stress. And, especially the staff that have to act in a moment of everything's okay, and then all of a sudden a patient crashes, or if a fireman had to attend a fire, or policeman had to attend an event or something, there is that adrenaline. And I think most of us sometimes walk around with that adrenaline and that stress and not even knowing it. And when we are in this, it's like we can do anything, and it feels good in a way, but then it's really hard to get that stress hormone out of our bodies. And we find that we can't sleep, we can't really function as if we were completely at peace. So the immunity is really something that we as medical staff or whoever's in this type of environment to really address the stress. And even if we don't know that we're walking around with this adrenaline or the stress hormone, it's really good to just follow the stress reduction techniques and tools that we offer in the Modern Mystery School. Because these tools and techniques, it doesn't matter whether you have it or not, it's just going to, make you better in terms of your internal world. And when our internal world is all balanced, then our external world becomes balanced too. And it's also the energy behind that. So if I'm all balanced and I go to work, in the medical environment, then I have people, my fellow colleagues, thinking, oh, I'm just going to just have a chat with you right here, right now, because it feels good, and we can do that, and we have the ability to do that as people. We can resonate that high frequency when we sort out that stress. So it all is connected with immunity, with the heart, and now coming from a perspective of the patient and their effect. So if they are stressed, they would present with the high heart rate, the palpitations, the high blood pressure. And we know those are physiological effects of stress. So, most of the time, it is due to stress that people present in a cardiac department or to the doctor. And if we don't really look at the root cause of what's really happening, then that is when we're going to be taking medication or going in for treatment. And that brings in more fear, more stress. And this is something we can, I always get people to seek medical advice. But I also tell them what you can do in the meantime, or just try, the meditation or the breathing exercises or tools, because eventually, it might just be solved with those simple techniques.
And that's something very interesting, isn't it? Because we often think when, we've got these ailments and these issues that are coming up, and they can be terrifying because something's happening in the body and we don't know why, or we think we don't know why. But actually what you're saying is, if I'm hearing this right, is that often it is coming from stresses that we can make a change. So that means that obviously the first step of healing, it comes from within us. And we have total control over that, which to me sounds really empowering.
Definitely. And, I think there's a reason why I am where I am, because sometimes we can get so caught up in that fear, and we can attract more and more and more. And we don't have clarity at that point. Because a lot of people think, oh, it's my heart. And the next, I don't like to say this, but this is what they think, that death is on their door, when it has to do with their heart. So they can go into cycles, repetitive cycles of the future and how it's going to look like, rather than just coming back to the present moment and thinking about what they can do right now to relieve the stress or to relieve the root cause of it.
And interestingly, this is where I find it fascinating because, obviously I'm a doctor in natural medicine, and we talk about this link between the non-physical, so something that you can't touch, such as stress, it's a non-physical thing, and it's stress, but yet it causes a physical reaction in the body. Now, medical community staff members, they are coming across this again and again and again. I'm presuming in especially in the heart area. I think the heart area is really interesting because it clearly shows up, doesn't it? It's like, okay, stressors, there's a big link, heart attack, we all know about that. Yet I still see a lot of people discounting the work of breathing or meditation or mindfulness as something quite wooey and something quite out there that really is not, it's for perhaps people with tie-dyed skirts or something, I don't know, whatever but yet we know from our medical community that there is a link between stress and a physical ailment happening in the body and can cause, in extreme cases, death, as we're talking about. So can you talk a little bit about maybe what type of tools would be acceptable or are more widely used in the medical communities now for de-stressing?
Yeah, it's interesting that you were saying that, because all consultants that I know cause stress the silent killer. And the tools are really very simple. However, it takes a lot of, I would say, self-realization that it actually works. And if people don't see it, then they're like, oh, because a lot of people are on a very fast pace. So when we just encourage breathing, just a simple exercise like breathing, that fast pace is kind of like, I'm in your face now and you've got to stop, that sort of thing. And I think that's what humanity needs to get used to, is to stop and just to breathe. And you can still breathe while you're doing, but it's the consciousness and that awareness that you're breathing for the right reasons, rather than just going about and not being mindful about a simple breathing technique.
Yeah, it's so funny. We were talking about this only today, and we're saying, there will be every excuse that you can possibly imagine. If you go to sit down to do breathing or meditation or whatever mindfulness program, activity that you're doing, there will be everything that will stop you. The phone will ring, the washing will need doing, there's the doorbell will go, you think that you need to pack away some stuff for tomorrow. It's just constant. It's like it's an actual battle to actually get and sit down to do that breathing or what have you. But once you do it, it's a whole new world.
Yes, and I think this is where I could help a little, is that, the moving meditation like Qi for someone who doesn't like to sit still, just a bit of guidance in the beginning, because that is the great thing about being a guide in the school or being a practitioner in the modern mystery school, is that we're here. We're here to support. And you might just need a little bit of support at the beginning, where, somebody's sitting with you and doing it with you. And once you've dipped your feet in it, you know that you can do this for yourself. So it's been a privilege that the Modern Mystery School has been, offering these free meditations and Qi, and we have stress relief coming up as well, stress rescue. So we have the opportunity always to seek help and to get that support, because if we're going to rely on ourselves, to do things that we're sometimes resistant, or sometimes we just feel like we don't have the time, or it's just a whole new thing that I probably won't be good at, that's what people say, then it might not happen. But when we do find someone that's there to kind of hold our hands and just say, okay, it's just, half an hour, I'm going to do this with you, it makes a world of a difference.
It really does. And I often think about, if you look at any singer, actor, athlete, top business owners and entrepreneurs, they have a team of people supporting them. They always have a mentor, always have a coach, always have some kind of support. And not because they're not the best. Yes, they are the best, but they truly believe they can be even better. So for me, that always translates. It's like, why, for me, when I first started along this journey, I was like, well, of course I'm going to get, the best and the best coaches and the best people to help and support me. And that's exactly why, I love walking the path, is because I always have somebody that's walked this path before me. And of course, for the past 3,000 years. So it's kind of like, okay, so we know it works, and the community aspect. So I really love that. And I really like that you brought that up. And I'm going to put the links in the comment box to the free meditations that we do. The schedule's actually changing next week, isn't it? So we do have a stress rescue coming up, which is online. So people are welcome to join us. It's all free. We're doing it to support, those that need, and we're doing Cheeto and Max Med. So I'm really glad that we get the opportunity to share those things. And talking about support, could you talk to us about key workers at the moment, especially medical staff? How are they coping? What are, maybe we have a family member that is a key worker. Maybe we have a friend. What suggestions can we be making to them? How can we help and assist? What do you feel about the situation right now?
That's a great question, because I've always wanted to help my colleagues. And, with wearing our masks and our visors, all the PPE that we do wear, obviously breathing becomes a little bit more difficult and challenging. And we can get tired a lot easier than if we weren't wearing this PPE that's here to protect us. So, the fatigue and the ability to, sometimes breaks become a thing, like, oh, I'll take a break in a bit, or drinking water, I'll just do this and then I'll drink water. Just simple things like that. When we do know that we need to hydrate, we need to breathe deeper, those are the things that I would encourage the key workers to perhaps make some time for themselves, even if it's just 2 minutes in an hour or 5 minutes or whatever it is that you have, is to, when you are in an environment where you can take off your mask, or just be able to have that sip of water, things that's going to nourish you, and do the breathing technique. It doesn't have to be a full 5 minutes, but just taking that time whenever you can to be mindful of that hydration, of the breathing technique, and to just be, because when we're connected to our bodies, we will know when we're tired. We will know that, oh my gosh, I've made this tiny mistake, so I need to take a few minutes for myself. And that is something that we have to force ourselves sometimes to do, because we're so dedicated into serving that we forget about ourselves. And it can easily happen in any profession. So make sure you leave a post-it for yourself, or you're constantly being reminded that, it's time to just do some deep breathing, or it's time to drink water or something like that. I have a colleague at hospital now who has a 2-liter gallon, and it has a time, and it says, you should have a sip now, or, and it's just things like that that's going to encourage a person to be able to bring in that mindfulness when they're working.
Yeah, and this is something again that keeps coming up, and I feel like it's a message that we really need to get across to people, that self-care and looking after us first isn't being selfish. It's not thinking of yourself first kind of attitude. It is more like you need to think of yourself first, and then you have more to give. The cup is overflowing. We can help each other, and it's a really great reminder that people in service tend to be even more of a culprit of this. which is kind of strange because we are the ones telling people all of the time, you need to look after yourself, you need to put yourself first. So the doctors and nurses out there, and the medical staff, that them realizing that to help us, they need to be fit and healthy as well.
Yeah, and I think a lot of the environment now is about self-care as well. There's a lot of apps that one can do. There's a lot of online stuff that we, the Modern Mystery School, even do. And I think if people just knew, then they would perhaps one day just click and then think, oh my gosh, I could do this. Because it's simple when you know. But when you don't, then it's like, oh no, I don't have the time, or that excuse comes up, as you said. But if you just visit for half an hour, and then you could just do it for yourself because it's simple.
Yeah, I really like that, and just encouraging people to give it a go, because I've been sometimes shy to go to a place. Maybe I don't know what's going on, or maybe I feel like I wouldn't be able to do it, or maybe the people won't, there's all these kind of irrational fears that come up, and that's something that I would say to everybody, is that for us in our online community, everybody is welcome. You don't have to have done anything. You can just put your camera on, put your link, press your link, put your camera on, and then away you go. I mean, there really isn't any prerequisite to come and do any of the stuff that we're doing, especially the stress rescue, the stress relief sessions are phenomenal. And I believe that, I believe that you were talking at a very prestigious conference this weekend with some very big names, and you were talking about this exact thing, stress relief. So could you tell us a little bit about this, this weekend and how it went?
Yes, it was simply amazing because obviously I am both sides. I am that staff member as well as the person who offers it. So I have the best of both worlds. And when it comes to me reaching out to people, I know exactly and I feel exactly and I've experienced exactly what they're going through. So it was absolutely awesome to do an introduction to stress rescue because I had been in this type of environment for a long time and not knowing that I was walking around with this adrenaline rush. And because I only started teaching stress rescue a few years ago, and when I put the pieces together, I realized, wow, if only I use these tools, and now I have them. And I'm so, we as guides so willing to share them because it makes a difference. And when somebody goes through the stress rescue class, they get a different perspective of their whole world and the ability to shift whatever it is that's causing them stress. And then coming out of those hours of going through the online class thinking like, I'm not stressed about that anymore. There's no need. There's no need to be stressed. And when you are witness to someone that has transformed in that way, it's simply amazing because they have the ability to now do that online. And it's an amazing process as well as integration when someone realizes or acknowledges that they don't need to be stressed about something anymore and that they have the willpower to change it. And that's what's so fascinating, is that you don't need to rely on someone to change it for you. You do it for yourself. And that is what, the Modern Mystery School and the lineage is all about, is that empowerment, that you take that step towards yourself.
Yeah, I love that. And just tell us, just name drop for us, Yadiksha, who else was on the talking bill this weekend?
Well, there were 50 guides, practitioners, mentors, but just to name one, it was Dr. Deepak Chopra.
So was that kind of, your name up in lights with him was pretty special, I suspect.
Yeah, because I'd been quoting him my whole life from the time I knew about him. Because he did a study. He's an endocrinologist, so he did a study to prove that everything exists in our DNA if we don't, if we don't release it, and it stays suppressed there. And that is something that really made me want to heal, because I was aware of that in my own self. So I really quoted him. I remember my first website, I quoted Dr. Deepak Chopra because I found that so fascinating that he proved that. So and I was feeling that, and as a practitioner, we could shift, and the simple thing like a life activation shifts that, and it was simply just all connected once again that I got to be a part of this.
I love that, isn't it? I love it. I love these people that are bringing forward the sciencey aspect, I guess we could call it, into the ancient knowledge that has been handed down for thousands of years. Obviously, us as practitioners, and we're walking the path, we know through our direct experience that it works, and that's great.
Mm-hmm.
But there are people out there that have no concept of energy healing or metaphysics, and they really have no idea what that even means. And so for me, it's like these people are shining a light onto the possibility through science of what ancients have been doing and practicing for thousands of years. So it like you, there's thousands of people out there that like it clicks in. It's like, oh, that's what they're talking about, And the life activation is a perfect example because it's to do with the DNA, which is amazing.
Yeah, I was just all my life I'd been looking to shift because I knew that I have these things stored in my DNA, and I really wanted to release, and really wanted to be better in myself, because obviously when we are in this adrenaline, we become a lot angrier very quickly, and I could see that in myself. And I was like, you know what? Something has to change. Something has to shift. So when I had my life activation session, I was like, oh my gosh, everything had just fallen to the ground. And, where is that? Where is that? Where's that anger? Where's that, that imbalance? And it was not there anymore, and that was something that was simply, I was speechless when I received my life activation. So that is how I got to become a practitioner myself and offer it to people, because although you get results when you do the life activation, but it stays with you for the rest of your life, and that it works in your DNA for the rest of your life. So why not?
Why not, indeed?
Yeah.
I know, why not, indeed. Just to finish off, Yadiksha, could you just give us a quick summary of, maybe one or two top tips that you would advise people to help with their immune system, any stressful situations that are going on? Could you give us a few top tips on that?
Yes, the first thing, and I've always been talking about, is the breathing. And there is a lot of breathing apps and exercise, and I even have one on YouTube, and we as Mystery School do this 3 times a week. So I would say when things get so tough and so stressful, it's good to just take a moment and just bring that back to yourself, and just start to breathe deeply, because that is something that can really inhibit that stress hormone from being released and make things even more of intense. The second thing is, you're not alone in whatever stress is coming up. You're not alone, and there is a way. And that is when I would advise anybody that feels trapped in that moment of stress is to seek help. And we're always here, at the Modern Mystery School, we're always here globally, internationally, wherever you are in the world. Seek help, because this is something that is going to help you to overcome so much. Because when we actually address the stress in our life, we're actually looking at our physiological aspects of it. So the physical body, the mental body, the emotional body, energetically, and all of that is so important to serve ourselves. So please seek help. And, it's not going to be over your whole life. It's just going to take you a few hours to learn these tools.
Thank you. And I really want to stress that you can have sessions with Yadiksha. I know she's taking clients. She doesn't have too much time, but I do know that she is taking some new clients each month, and she's making time for that. So we're going to put her contact details in the comment box and your website, etc. And Yadiksha, can people they come to you in person and they can have an online consultation, can they, and such like?
Yeah, so I do both online and in person, depending on what's needed. But a consultation would be the first step. So, I can really figure out whether I can help you or not. And if I can't, I'd always refer you. But it's always a great way to start and to begin a relationship or that form of professionalism, so that we both know what your goals are and what my goals are for you as well.
Yeah, really good. I highly recommend you get in touch with Yadiksha. She's leading stress rescue all of the time. She's very experienced, so please get in touch. And she's got a wealth of knowledge, and she's offering, her services. So some of them she's doing a lot for free as well. So again, we're doing what we can through these difficult times. So we're helping and supporting as much as we can. So thank you, Yadiksha, for coming on. Just a few comments. Well, Josephine, she said, hello, beautiful ladies. So we're going to give Josephine away.
Hi, Josephine.
And we've got some little roses and hearts. And I can't see who the Facebook user is, but I think it might be Dr. Anne. I mean, I'm just going to guess. I'm not sure, but I'm going to wave to whoever sent us that. Oh, yes, thank you so much, Anne's there, Dr. Anne, lovely. Lovely. So thank you so much, Yad, for coming on, and we'll put those details in the comment box for you all. Okay, take care for now, everyone.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.
Bye.